One of the reasons that I started working in language is that I always wanted to learn how to speak another language. I would have loved to learn how to speak 3, 4, 5, 6 different languages. And I did study a number of languages, mostly Romance languages, although I did study for a while Chinese and a little bit of Japanese. One of the things that I found the most difficult, especially when you're going with the Romance languages, going between, let's say, going with English and Spanish, or French and English, or Portuguese and English, prepositions. I found prepositions extremely difficult because there's no one translation. There's no one, for example, the preposition a. Sometimes it's translated as to, sometimes it's translated as of, sometimes it's translated as in, sometimes it's not even translated. So I found it extremely difficult because there was no rule. I mean, for example, when you're dealing with articles going from Spanish to English, or from English into Spanish, it's difficult, okay? Because you have to figure out if the noun is feminine or masculine. But once you got the noun, you realize that it's feminine or masculine, and then you can function. And it doesn't change. There are some articles that are both feminine and masculine, but in general, it doesn't change. You have to memorize it, but that's no problem. Memorization isn't a problem. With the preposition a, with the preposition de, or going from Spanish to English, the preposition of, how that's translated into Spanish, or the preposition with, how that's translated into Spanish. It all depends. So what I decided to do, and what I did, was I went through an unabridged English-Spanish dictionary and looked at all the different, and I mean all the different, expressions that contain the preposition a. I also did it with de, and to a certain extent with por y para, but mostly a, because that's the prepositions that use a lot in Spanish. And I translated them. And then I put them up on the webpage. We're talking about at carrala.ficklin.com. Carrala is C-A-R-R-A-L-A. Ficklin is F as in food, I-C-K-L-I-N.com. Welcome.com. WYLCOME.com, or at askexplain.com. ASKPLAIN.com. And I put them up on the webpage so that someone can easily go in there and see what important prepositions, what important expressions, or just words contain the preposition a. Let me give you a few examples. You have the expression a palabras necias, oídos sordos. Now, someone who speaks Spanish knows what that means, but someone who speaks English might not quite get it. But the expression begins with the preposition a. In English it means, I'll treat the remark with the contempt that it deserves, or a little bit more formal would be, to foolish words, deaf ears. In other words, I won't listen to what you're saying because what you're saying is insulting. Another word or expression, but this is a word more, that contains the preposition a would be a parecer, which means, in my opinion. A parecer, in my opinion. A partir de, which means in English starting from. A pasos de tortuga, and a tortuga is a turtle. But in English, when we want to say something is going very slowly, we don't use a turtle, we use a snail. So a paso de tortuga would be at a snail's pace. A patadas, which means in abundance or in galore, a lot, in other words. A patadas, but we're talking about tratar, how you treat someone. If you treat someone a patadas, which means roughly or badly. A pecho descubierto, which means defenseless or unarmed. And let me give you one more. Okay, let me give you one. Let me see here. I'm looking at my computer. I'm looking at to see. A pie, which means on foot. I think I'll give you a couple more. A plazos means in installment. Okay. And someone says, a poco. Hablas español. A poco, which means really? I don't know if I believe you. A poco. I love that. In Mexico, they use that expression a lot. Let me see. A poco no, which means no. Let me see a couple more. I think we have time for a couple more. A primera hora, which means early. Okay. A prisa, quickly, rapidly, fast. And let me give you just one more. A puerta cerrada, which in English means behind closed doors. I'm going to make more videos with the preposition a. And the reason you hear all is P, because I have, on the webpage, I have it in alphabetical order. So starting with the letter A all the way down to the letter Z. And here I just happen to choose the part that deals with, in which all the words begin with the letter P. And there's quite a few. It's over 1,000 expressions. And as you know, there are many thousands, hundreds of thousands of expressions in Spanish. So we'll continue, and we'll also look at other prepositions, not just the preposition a, but also de, por, para, en, okay, con. So until next time, carrala, ficklin.com, welcome.com.